Getting started off this morning, we want to welcome you to the value of volunteering during your 4 year tenure. And we have Mr. Byron Jones with us from the Office of Civic Engagement, Assistant Director from Office of Civic Engagement. We also have me, Roy Shavers, Educational Program Specialist from TRiO, as well as
Miss Amber Williams
from TRiO Student Support Services. And we want to talk about the value of volunteering during your 4 year tenure. Who do we have in the audience today with us?
Mr. Elijah Fleury, freshman, pre-managerial sciences major.
Okay. So what do you think? How do you benefit from volunteering? I know you volunteer, don't you?
Yeah, volunteer.
So how do you benefit from it?
I see how I benefit from it is like it's not only just like seeing impact on how it helps like whatever cause, whether it's like children or the environment. It's also you kind of learn new things in the process, like stuff you don't really think about that like you realize, wow, this is really important, and it goes to help you out in the long run, especially when it comes to graduating too, because you know you want the volunteer cords and all that. So
Okay. So Mr. Jones, since you are the volunteer person here on the campus, why don't you share with us some of the things that students can get involved in as far as volunteering during their 4 years?
Well, thank you for having me again, Mr. Shavers, today talking about the value of volunteering. When I think about the value, and I'm especially talking with students, I always think about their career choices. And the first thing I always tell students is use the opportunity to volunteer as a way to practice within your career. You can find out whether or not you really want to work in that field if you just get out and serve in that field. For example, if you want to be an attorney, some of the great things you can do is volunteer with a couple of the organizations, whether it be the CAB Lawyers Foundation, the Juvenile Justice Project. But through those experiences, you will learn as a student whether or not you really want to be an attorney. When you think about students who want to go in the medical field, I always tell them, take an opportunity to go volunteer in the hospital. Because those experiences within those career professions will really determine, again, your structure and what you're going to focus in on in terms of your career choices. The second thing I always think about, especially when I'm talking to students about the value of volunteering, is increasing their network. One of the biggest things that we have to understand, especially in this generation, studies show that 97% of the jobs that this generation will receive won't be because of the institution, won't be because of their resume, it'll be because of the individuals that they know. And during these 4 years, this is a great opportunity as a student to build your professional network. It is sometimes hard when you become a professional to really network with individuals, but when you're a student, it seems like everybody wants to add you as a part of your network. One of the biggest things I always tell students is you never know where you're going to be or the person sitting next to you is going to be in the next 4 to 5 years. So if you don't know that, then why not take this opportunity to network with any and everybody? Because you never know when that next opportunity or that person sitting next to you is going to create the next Facebook or the next Twitter, or you want to be a part of the next big thing. I use the founder of Facebook as an example. You think about Mark Zuckerberg. He dropped out of college. But the people that became his board, the people that became those administrators within his company, those people that got those shares right in the beginning, who are millionaires and billionaires now, are individuals that he cultivated relationships during his first and second year of college before he left. Now, I don't know about nobody else, but I'm sitting next to somebody who's like, oh man, you got the next bright idea. And we all know Roy Shavers has all these bright ideas. This is why I continue to network and cultivate a relationship, because again, you never know where these individuals are going to be.
And yeah, and when you talking about that Facebook, hey, it was some people that didn't even mess with him, wasn't it? Like in the movie, if you watch the movie, they didn't want to do the whole Facebook thing, and I know they wishing now that they would have built that relationship with him to do the Facebook thing, because now he rich.
And a lot of his squad who was rocking with him rich too.
Exactly. How do you feel, Amber?
How
did you experience in volunteering in college? Did you volunteer in college?
I was a heavy part of Student Government Association. I worked as a senator and then as SGA president at Decatur campus. So we did a lot of volunteering. at the Capitol, the activity board, we did a lot of volunteering in the community. We did Habitat for Humanity, where we were able to go out to Birmingham, Alabama, and actually not only help a family build their home, but also help a young lady who had just had a baby complete her hours to be able to close on her home. So that was really awesome. We did some things with some community centers up in Greenville, South Carolina, where we were able to help, renovate their facilities and paint murals and stuff like that. And Byron said something that was very important as far as like volunteering within your career field. If you'll do whatever it is that you want to do career wise for free and actually enjoy it and want to get up every day and commit to it, then that's a good indication that that is something that you're supposed to be doing career wise. Now, if you volunteer in that particular field and you find that, hey, I'm not motivated to get up and do that every day, then that lets you know, hey, maybe I need to consider something else. So, I mean, that is the key thing that makes volunteering important, as well as it allows you to see that things are bigger than you and yourself. We all have things going on. We all have stuff that we're trying to work through. We all have incidences in our lives where we struggle. But being able to step outside yourself and be able to see what someone else is going through and how you can help them and get that reward from that, it just lets you know that things are bigger than you. And that's a good attitude to have and a good outlook to have as well.
Every year in college, I had to volunteer. Since being a student athlete, they made us volunteer. And a lot of people might think that they don't volunteer, but you volunteering during being a student athlete. And we had to volunteer at the headquarters of Domino's Farm. It was called Domino's Farm, but Domino's Pizza. So every year before the school year started off or popped off, we did this big event where we was like moving waters and moving juice and giving it out to a bunch of different people that was at this big organization or event that they had over the summer. And it was like fun. It was like you built relationships not only with the people that was out there, but my teammates. Like that was the biggest thing that I took away from it, was the relationships that I built with people. Because you find out a lot about people during those small little intimate settings. Even for example, we just came back from Washington, D.C., and I think that group of students that we had in here bonded real well. 14 students that went along with myself. So that was cool. We partnered with Panther Breakaway on that. So that was like actually cool. We got 2 students that, actually attended. Would you like to share something about, your volunteer experience over the spring break?
We traveling.
You want to work out? I guess I go first. It was a really great experience because, we've never been to Washington before. So it felt good, prepping meals for people for the people. It also felt good helping out the local church and the YMCA's. It felt good overall to know like our impact was helping. But not only that, I feel like as a group, a lot of us, like, it was obvious that like some of us knew each other, but we didn't really know each other like that. And it's kind of crazy like how over those just several days, we all became like so close. And it was almost like we're a big family now. It's almost like we've known each other for like years and years. So it was really great. It was really great.
What he said. He said it correctly.
But I mean, like, go ahead.
One of the things I want to add, and you touched on it kind of briefly, but I just want to add in, when you think about those experiences, when you take these alternative break service trips, whether doing your winter break or your spring break, and you have an opportunity to connect, one of the biggest things that you don't think about in your development is those soft skills. These are things that your employers can't teach you. And so when you think about service and when you think about being around other like-minded individuals, you have an opportunity to develop those soft skills. I tell students all the time, if you are able to talk with different individuals, if you're not afraid to speak up, if you're not that individual that's going to stand, behind the scenes, and you're really jumping out there, stretching yourself to, get comfortable being uncomfortable in special situations, you're developing yourself so fluently that these employers are going to want you at the end of the day, because they see how you're able to network. They see how you're able to do those intangibles that are not going to be displayed on your job description. When you think about people applying for jobs, people are only applying for jobs because they fit those criterias that are listed. You're not going to apply for a job if it says like, oh, you need X, Y, Z skills and you don't have those skills. But when you go into these interviews, they're looking for that soft skill development. They're looking, are you able to communicate with the individuals that are going to be next to you? A lot of times when people think about being promoted on your job, you think that you have to build the best relationship with your bosses. That's not key. The people that are going to help you get to the next level are going to be those working next to you day in, day out. Because your superiors are going to go to them and ask them, hey, how do you feel working with X, Y, and Z? Or how does that relationship with X, Y, and Z, or you as an individual? And those are the things that they're going to talk about in your reviews. Because those are things that, again, if you're moving up the chain of command within any career field, where you're starting from the bottom, like that, starting from the bottom, and you're moving up that chain of command, you're going to be able to come from a subordinate to now you got to be somebody's boss. And we all know that as a boss, you got to be effective and efficient in the way that you communicate. And so some of the great things that you all can learn from those volunteer experience, especially when you're, living with someone in tight quarters and really getting to know an individual, especially when you do a service trip like you all just came from Washington, D.C., and I'm hearing such great things about it, you really have an opportunity to develop those soft skills. And again, these are things that employers look for that, again, you can't teach yourself. This is something that can't be taught in a classroom or in a book. It's only learned through experiences.
I agree with Byron. Volunteering and having the heart to serve people, to me, that teaches you so much, particularly in your job, because we all can go to work and do exactly what it is that we're supposed to do in our job function and know the job function, and this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is what you should do. But having a spirit to serve and having an attitude to serve, it allows you to step outside of your normal functions and go above and beyond. For if you're working with students, working with customers, working with families, whoever you're working with, it allows you to have the attitude, hey, let me go above and beyond. Let me step further outside of what my job description is to make the best of my job, to do the best job, to find solutions and different things like that. So I agree 100% with you. It teaches you those soft skills that you won't get anywhere else, to be able to step outside yourself and really go above and beyond and give your 100% in a job or in relationships, family, friendships, different things like that.
Regardless if you volunteer or not, you got to look at it like this is a job anyways. Like, I look at it as a job. Like, you going to get paid for it or you not going to get paid for it, right? So you want the experience or you don't want the experience. It's like, that's just like going to work and the job and the person, you're not getting paid for it. So you're not going to work. You get what I'm saying? You gotta understand what I'm saying. Like, you have to do it. Like, we were all put here to serve one another. Like, whether it's you become a doctor, you serving a bunch of different people. That's why I feel like they make you do the volunteer hours, because they want to see how you serve people. Or do you have that willingness to serve people,
Bedside manner.
Huh?
The bedside manner.
Exactly. She said the bedside manner. So, like, do you have that willingness to go above and beyond to doing the volunteer hours? What about you, Laura? How many volunteer hours have you done so far?
I've done 6.
6?
And I'm going to do 6 more. And I'm going to do even more than that, even though it's not required. And let me tell you why. So this spring break, I got sick. I got really sick. I had strep throat. I had to go through antibiotics and everything. But I was like, I have to get my hours. And there's this place by my house. It's a local thrift store. I love thrifting, but I had never came across that thrift store just because I just didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 6 hours there, and I've never had a job. Never had a job. But I look so forward to waking up and just going and getting out there because I love to talk to people. Roy knows how I love to try to inspire other people, just talk to them all the time. And being there, volunteering, I love it because it changes your comfort zone. You start talking to different people. You start learning about their lives, how they go day by day, and how it's different than yours. And something that's really important, disregarding whatever job and in whatever industry you have to be able to know how to relate with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to gain their trust, they have to know that you know where they're coming from. And something that I learned is, so many different people walked into that store, And the one woman who was managing it, you know, she's about 50 something years old. She does this, and it's a nonprofit organization. So she doesn't, you know, get out of it more than she puts into it. And she was the only one managing it for I don't know how long. And luckily there was about 7 or 8 volunteers there. And we were able to help her in one day, in 6 hours, to sell over $1,000 worth of things.
Okay.
And it was really fun because, you know, we had to all work together to help out the customers, even though we had no idea where anything was.
Mhm.
We managed to figure it out. And she was able to just sit down for 5 minutes and not have to worry about the next thing she was going to be doing. You know, it was something as little as one girl, Janice, she loves fashion. So she started dressing up the mannequins differently because she, the woman that ran it, she's about 50 something years old. So some of the things she sees ripped jeans, she tosses them out.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know that that's what's in nowadays.
Mhm.
So Janice would dress up the mannequins, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Every time a new customer walked in, they would buy the outfits from the mannequins. And so Doreen, that was her name, the woman's name, she just couldn't stop smiling. And to me, it was more than those hours. It was making relationships and being able to help a person, even if it was just for those 6 hours. I know it made a big difference in your life. And that's something that's really important regardless of wherever you work. Because if you're a customer service representative or if you're a doctor, the way you relate to your patients or to your customers, that's really going to set you apart from other people. And I think that's something that's really important for every student to do. And volunteering really, like you guys said, it helps you gain that. It's not something that you can just be taught. You have to physically go out and do it yourself. You know, get out of your shell. You know, I used to be really shy when I was little, and now my mom makes fun of me. She says that I sound like a parrot because I always talk. But it's just a way that I like to, you know, connect with people.
But that's the only way you're gonna be successful is by connecting with people and talking to people. You know, this volunteer, like I don't know, like he done got me into it now. Because when I was here, I wasn't doing no volunteering. I remember the first time I tried to do Panther Breakaway, and they told me no. And I'm like, well, why I can't do Panther Breakaway? Like I'm serving a student. And it was just like, you know, you didn't get it approved and all of this stuff. And then when I got here, it was like, he asked me to do it last semester, and I'm like, let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
And at first I was like, man, I ain't even go to no Jacksonville, you know? I ain't even in no Jacksonville. Let me go somewhere fun, like Miami, you know? And the trip was booked up for Miami, so I ended up going to Jacksonville with like another great group of students, and it just was like, yo, this is fun, you know? Like you get a free vacation, you know, and not a vacation, but you get some time off to, you know, basically focus on something else, you know, like a different area that, you know, most people wouldn't even focus on. Like,
We need another one.
huh?
We need another one.
We need another
We
one.
need another one.
So Byron, you just left Costa Rica. How was your time over there?
Wow, man. Service abroad is always very differently. And when I say different, you bring in a dynamic that to students that some just don't usually expect. It's really a cultural adjustment for students who, number one, when you think about our international service trip, we have first generation students, we have students from all, you know, ethnical backgrounds here that represent the university. We have the diverse University of Georgia State University. We have students who have never flown before. You know, so their first time flying is an international trip. And then when you go to a country such as Costa Rica, and when you think about Costa Rica, a lot of times you think about the tourism side of Costa Rica. But when you think about our service trip where we're working in some of the most indigenous communities or communities that really need support with self-sufficiency, a lot of things, you know, begin to open up for our students where they really realize that some of the things that they thought, you know, were hard, you know, for them growing up, you know, they put themselves in the shoes of those that they're serving. When you think about, you know, homes where students have to walk, you know, 45 minutes to an hour every day just to get to class on time. And so if school starts at 7 a.m., you think about what time those students have to actually wake up. You think about the time that those families have to put in just to make sure that, you know, their offspring are getting those quality educations. You think about communities where, you know, everybody's in one classroom, one of the schools that we work with in the La Orienta community, from first grade all the way up to the 8th grade was one classroom, and one teacher for all of those students. So those teachers are very, stretched thin. And we think about classroom sizes. We, seen people complain about, oh, I got 15, 16 people in my class. I can't get that individualized attention. But then you go to another country, like, hey, these individuals are not complaining. They're just happy to be getting this education. When you think about lunchtime, and these are just things, again, if you see me, you see that I like to eat. I always tell students I'm cornbread fed right here in the city of Atlanta. And when you think about lunchtime in these communities, you were here, or we've all went to schools where when it was lunchtime, you went to the cafeteria. You'd have free lunch, or you paid a little subsidized fee to get that tray of food. Where at lunchtime within these communities, these are community members actually coming together every day to provide lunch for these families. They're not getting any kickbacks from the government. They're taking food out of their homes to be able to provide lunch for these students, and not just for them, for us as volunteers as well, coming into their communities and being able to serve as well.
But that just make that, in my eyes right there, that just make your community so much more stronger.
Absolutely.
When you doing something like that, like, I don't know, I ain't trying to turn this in a whole different direction, but now that you say that, that just makes it like, it feels like over there they bringing their communities together.
It's community
we not
buy-in.
bringing it seems like here we don't bring our communities together like that when it comes to, the education of our kids. Like, I don't know, I see all kind of things going on now when it comes to, the school systems and stuff
But the
like that.
values are different.
Yeah.
When you get something for free all the time, you don't value it as much. For us, we're like, elementary school was free. Middle school was free. I had a bus that picked me up. You know what I'm saying? I always walked into a school with AC and air conditioning. You go there, when it's hot outside, it's hot in class. When it's cold outside, it's cold in class. Like, there's no, there's no breakdown. Like, nature, is like part of it. I give you one experience. We were teaching a class, and next thing you know, we heard, this is just one of the experiences that we had, we heard some of the older ladies who were preparing lunch for the kids, they just started screaming. And I'm like, I'm from Atlanta, so when things happen, people start screaming, you think to yourself, okay, I gotta move. These students automatically knew that something was wrong. So they ran out of class, and I'm thinking to myself, well, they jetting out of class, I need to jet, but it was a snake.
Oh.
It was a snake. And so when you think about our Georgia State students, they were like, oh, what do we do? These kids went and picked up sticks and started working. And when I say they went to work like it was like
what?
it was like
They killed it.
Yes. No questions asked.
Ain't no
And
playing
then
with it.
here's the thing. They killed the snake, put it in the dustpan, tossed it over the fence, and went back to class. Like nothing had happened. Like, oh, this is daily work right here. And I'm stunned I'm sitting back stunned, as a volunteer at their school, like, did this just happen? Like, did this really just happen in front of me? Like, and they went, and it was literally like it was second nature to them. Like, we deal with this all the time. Mm-hmm. And they went right back to class. Something like that wasn't happening at Georgia State. If a rat comes in this room right now, whole room would clear out, and we would not be able to get y'all back in this room. Like, let's be honest. We would not be able to go on with this program.
Cause she gone too.
Everybody go. No questions asked. Because again, we've been programmed to, that's not my job. I don't take care of that. Whereas they're programmed to, hey, this is our instructional time. So if we lose this time, we're not going to get this time back.
This is like a little off topic,
But you good. We talking though. We conversating. It's still going with the same thing.
So one thing, I guess for me, my favorite volunteer place was the first Boys and Girls Club that we went to. And to be honest, it was was that Virginia or was that still DC?
That was still DC.
Yeah,
It was in the hood.
Oh, y'all
was in the hood.
Was it Anacostia?
No, Bennings Road or
Okay.
something like that. That was what it was
out
called.
there,
Bennings Road in the hood.
Trenches. But with that being said, though, like I volunteered with Hands on Atlanta before with the Discovery program where you go to schools. But it was just interesting to see, like, also how even though it's a different state, it's just like how the economics still affects the same thing. Like those kids, like to be honest, because I went to a school off of Bankhead, Troy. Is it? No. Towns
Elementary.
Towns Elementary, yep, Atlanta Public.
Yeah, right over there off of Bankhead, boy. And it's interesting to see how the kids are still the same just when it comes to certain environments. Like in one of the classrooms when we was volunteering, 2 of the little kids got to fighting.
Yeah, the ones that was calling me Tupac. We got Pac in here, man. We got Pac. I'm like, what? Tupac dead, man. I'm lying. What you talking about?
But it was just like interesting to see how that goes from one place to another. Like how you're in a poor area and how that affects those children. So that's like another thing that you can see with volunteering. Like, oh, this isn't just something that happens off of Bankhead in Atlanta. Like this happens in there off of DC, and I mean it's probably happening in Flint or in Chicago. So it's just like interesting to see like when you volunteer, it's a different setting, but the same problems. Like a lot of those kids, they're probably coming from low socioeconomic static homes, and it's like, you know, they're not getting enough support because that school, Trevor told me that they get a lot of funding, but it's like, where's this funding going to? Like he told me like the week before we pulled up, like a few days before that somebody got arrested outside, and there were like 8 shootings around that area. So it's just kind of interesting to see, like, you know, different state, same situation.
I know they valuing something different. I mean, even you can even tell from what some of the kids had. Some of these kids got iPhones, the new iPhone. I don't even got the new iPhone. You know what I mean? I'm that iPhone X. Like,
you see that down here though.
What are your parents? Why are you buying your kid that right now? Your kid.
That's where you have to start going into like a home and background, because maybe their priorities aren't such, you know, and that's the thing. Like people, when they usually go, "Where are you from?" Well, I'm Hispanic. Yeah, but where are you from? You're from Atlanta. I'm like, I'm from Clayton County. They go, oh, they either go, where's Clayton County? Or they go, oh, you're from Clayco. And it's funny because, you know, like, yeah, I'm from Clayton County. There's nothing wrong with that. But what people don't understand is they only see that ugly part. Like, oh, it's so ghetto. You know, what school did you go to? I told them I went to Charles Drew High School. It's a brand new school. It's only been around for not even like 15 years, probably 10. But when they hear that I went there, they're like, hey, you're going to Georgia State? Oh my God. You know, they're so amazing. I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? You know, but it's not where you come from, it's what you do with it. You know, some of these children, they're growing up trying to mimic adults, and they're not having a good role model to follow. So, you know, some students, they see it and they want to change. Some students, they follow their tracks. But it's all on priorities. If you give an 8-year-old an iPad, he's going to sit there and play games all day. But if you tell him, go outside and play with some mud and sticks, he's going to make a little house from the mud and sticks and start building up his imagination. He's going to want to go do things, discover things, you know? And I think that's what sets the difference. And when you go to volunteering, you're able to make an impact on these children's lives. Because if you go to some place like Costa Rica, they're already trained kind of basically by nature to be that way. But here in the States, it's different. These students, these kids, they're not, you know, they're given iPads and iPhones. It's not the same thing as it was 10 or 15 years ago. You know, nowadays they want to play video games, but they're not going outside to play. And I feel like that sucks. Because I remember when I was little, I would love to play outside. My mama would have to whip me to go back inside. You know, and now kids don't even want to go see the daylight.
Right.
And that technology is, you know, what I sometimes say is killing, you know, the critical thinking in our community. Because if you think about now, the access to technology causes individuals to not think outside the box. Right. And it goes back to that, you know, imaginary way of thinking. And again, I always say the critical thinking, because you can always now go to Google and find everything else. But I always tell students, think about, you know, again, I'm going to tell my age a little bit, when there was no Google, when you had to go to a book. When you needed, when your teacher said, oh, find another word for this. Now you pull out your phone, you know, where you go straight to another word for this. Type it in Google, it's going to give you everything you know. But there was a point where you had to use a thesaurus. Or when your teacher, you use a word in your paper and you used it wrong, your teacher said, oh, go back and define that word. Now, You talk to Siri. Siri, define it. When there was a point where you had to define that word, you had to go get a dictionary. And then there were times where, guess what? Dictionaries weren't updated. So if that word wasn't in one dictionary, you had to go get another book to look into. And now we think about the ease of technology, and I love technology in some ways that it's used. You think about cancer research, where there were certain times where you got a form of cancer, you already knew your time was coming to an end. Now, with the research and through technology now, again, that's a positive use of technology. But when you think about communication, there are students here right now at Georgia State University who talk the way they text, because all they do is text 24/7. And so when you ask them to communicate effectively or efficiently, they can't really hold that conversation. Again, I know we're talking about, service, but if you even talk about, personal relationships, there are guys right now who would be so comfortable shooting a DM, but will not open up their mouth to say good morning or good afternoon or good evening to the same person they just shot a DM to yesterday evening. Because again, that ease and that use of technology sometimes takes away from your overall development. Again, these are soft skills. That's why
you need social experiences like volunteering to bring that personality out. I seen it on the trip. Some of you guys that went, I didn't even know some of you talked. Y'all pass right by some people up in here, and I'll be like even little Victoria. Yeah. I'm like, yo, I heard out of all people, she got a big heart. Yo, you push that button, she'll run over you, yo. And I didn't even know that. I didn't see that out of people. So I see it in a different way now that we went out there and did that. I see you guys in a different way. I can say, oh, I know I learned something about them. So don't push that button. Like Russell, he a Gemini just like me. So I know he got them similarities. Okay, don't cross this line. You cross this line right here, we might be, you might be in trouble. Just little stuff like that. I learned about Tez, about, just different things that I learned about people. I think he should go to law school because he got the power of manipulation. That was one thing that I learned about, that I learned from that trip behind that. So it was you learn different things about different people. And that's what you're gonna be working
and you built those lifelong relationships. I love when you what's your name? Elijah. He was like, man, now I feel like we family. You really find individuals that you thought were very different from you, and you see the similarities. You see the same circumstances. Oh man, I would have never thought that you experienced the same thing that I experienced, and now that's a commonality. And now when you see each other around campus, the whole experience is different. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because now you have somebody on this campus that I'm connected to this individual. I tell students all the time, when you take an alternative spring break or alternative service break experience and you stay with somebody in close quarters for 3 to 4 days at a time, you cannot help but build a solid foundation with these individuals. Because again, you're riding with these people, you're talking with these people, these are the people that you're engaging with, then you're also getting to see an individual's purpose. So like Roy said, I never thought that I'd encourage the student to go to law school. Some of you right now can point out individuals who are on this trip with you and say, I know this individual's purpose and passion just by having this experience. As you said when you walked in, if you can do what you're doing for free and enjoy it, that may be a career for you. Because again, now you've developed that purpose and that passion. And so when you think about service, that's all we want you all to do, especially as an office here that is dedicated to service, is to help you all develop that purpose and passion around life. And become those leaders within those individual fields. So I'm excited that you all had those opportunities and understand that, this path of breakaway, these alternative break experiences, we take 10 to 12 a year. And so you have an opportunity to not just do this during spring break, but also during your winter break as well, if that's something that you want to do to continue to expose yourself and do some great service work.
And I just gotta show you this, Byron, or let y'all hear this, because this was key that the lady said at the Department of Education. We visited the Department of Education.
Which is fine. No disrespect, sisters, but it pleases me to see so many young men in this group.
And it was Even though, no disrespect, like she said, no disrespect, but on these trips, these volunteer trips, men don't go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, men don't go, and for us to have 11 representatives of TRiO as well as the organization made, like that was big, like because we looked up on as we lazy. You know, some men are looked up on as lazy, and you know they don't want to work and they don't want to put that that extra into going the next mile. But for somebody to notice that, like I didn't even think that they noticed it. You know what I mean? Like everything is always somebody always watching you. You know, like even from the whole volunteer experience. So that was what was like great, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
And it's so important. And just to add this in that you just shared that clip. And again, this just shows you exactly what she was talking about from the Department of Education. When you think about our group to Costa Rica, we just took 15 students. 14 of them were young professional women here at Georgia State University. There was only one male on that international service trip that we just took. One male. And so when you think about the dynamics of our institution, one of the things that I'm focused in on as an office is how do we get more young professional men of Georgia State University involved in service? Not just through the special programs like, the MAID, program here on campus, because we know that program is directly targeting, that subset of individuals. But how do we overall get the young brothers interested in service? And some of the things that we always have to be critical about and key to point out is, nature versus nurture. Mm-hmm. Again, women are raised a little bit more differently than young brothers to care about other individuals, to want to go out and want to be, servant, leaders or impact their community. Whereas brothers, we always talk, again, take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't get caught up in the system. Every man for himself. And again, too, these are some of the things that we have to break down. And as an office, again, if you all have any ideas on what we can do as an office to get more, young brothers involved, because again, one of my biggest, I hate to say it, selling points to my brothers when it comes to these service trips, 95% of the people that's going to go are women. So I try to use that as a selling piece, but even that sometimes doesn't want or spark their interest in getting involved.
I was gonna say a lot of the friendships that I have now as a professional are friendships that I made with people in undergrad, as far as like SGA and volunteering, and like Byron was saying, a lot of those experiences that you have are like unique. I remember one trip we went on that was a service trip when we went to Greenville, South Carolina. We were staying at a summer camp, and we saw a lynx. We were outside playing. It was like in the middle of the night, probably maybe 12 midnight, and we saw a lynx. And I don't know if you all know what a lynx is, but it's basically a bobcat, like a very big bobcat. But we saw it in the woods in the summer camp, and that was just crazy because we were all running back to the campsite and trying to tell our advisor and everything. It was just real crazy. But through that experience, we kind of bonded. And then there was a time we went to Birmingham, where we all had went out and we had a crazy experience where we ended up running into this guy and he was kind of following us. And I mean, I know that's kind of sounds crazy, but we kind of bonded over experiences like that. And having those experiences with people, you kind of bring that back to campus. And like Byron said, you see them on campus and then you kind of sit down and you connect over that experience that you may have had on a trip, whether it was service, whether it was something crazy like what we had going on, and you kind of build relationships. And those relationships carry on. So a lot of these people, I've been out of undergrad for a while now, and a lot of these people I still talk to, I've networked with, I've helped some of these people get jobs, they've helped me get on, different things like that. But I'm just saying all this to hold on to those relationships that you build. 'Cause a lot of those people become close friends because you can relate back to that time in undergrad when you had these experiences on these trips, and you're able to develop that into something else, which you might not have done, because some of these people may be very different from you. You might not have even talked to them when you saw them on campus until you went on these trips, or until you did these service projects, or until you joined these organizations. So definitely learn how to hold on to those relationships and cultivate them, because they can lead you to some pretty great things.
And those volunteer, whether it be service experience, leadership experience, these are the experiences that connect you to the university. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I challenge students all the time is connect yourself to this university because this is your degree.
Yep.
You only get one 4-year journey. Yes, you can go back again and
Right.
get another bachelor's degree, but who wants 2 bachelors?
Right. And it won't be
You know,
the same.
and
It won't be the
and
same.
again, you know, so
Same.
again, this is your undergraduate journey. This is your experience. You know, when I think back to my collegiate experience, I know when Roy thinks back to his collegiate experience, I know when you think back to your 4-year collegiate journey, I know I look at myself like, best 4 years of my life. Because I didn't have certain things that I had to worry about when I was in this particular space. And I know the student dynamic is different. There are, you know, traditional students, non-traditional students. Y'all have a lot on your plate. But for some of you all right now, if you just focus in on being a student, you can have the best 4 years of your life just by connecting yourself to this university and all the things that this university has to offer for you all. And so when I talk to students and I say, "Are you enjoying this collegiate experience?" and they say no, I always ask them, "What are you involved in?"
Nothing.
And most of the time they're gonna say nothing. And they ain't gonna say nothing. They gonna say nothing.
Right.
Y'all know how to do nothing. Y'all shorten it up. And I'd be like, there you go. And this is why you're not enjoying this experience, because you're not involved.
Because you can't just go to class.
You can't just go to class. That's not
You
what
will be
college is all
miserable.
about.
Yes.
This is a time for you to make those mistakes, but to also grow as individuals. So all these different things that Georgia State has to offer you all as students, whether it be through volunteering, whether it be through service learning, whether it be through leadership, all of these different offices, especially like TRiO, where there are individuals who care about your collegiate experience, I always tell them connect with those offices, because again, once you walk across that stage, it's going to be an eye-opener like, man, I'm going to really miss this opportunity. And we know that there's some of you all are going to go on to grad school, some of you are going to go into your professional career, but at the end of the day, it's going to start with this journey that you all are currently on.
So that marks up our time today for the value of volunteering during your 4-year tenure. We would like to thank Mr. Byron Jones, Miss Amber Williams, myself, and all of you guys that attended today. And we'll be back in 2 weeks.